dear. Alright, we're going to do git. Oh dear, sorry about that. So I don't know what happened there. I think my computer's struggling with trying to do rendering a cinema 4D and trying to live stream and trying to use Git, so it completely crashed. It absolutely wrecked my local Git repository as well, so I've had to clone it again, and now I'm going to have to copy those items over the top of the version I've just cloned. It's quite ridiculous really, but never mind. In fact, actually maybe I don't need to do that. Let's cd gold Dalek 3D model. We're under the master branch, so okay, I'm gonna have to, maybe I can just save that over the top actually. If I do file save project, and hopefully that'll paste it over the top of the new version there. So there we go. So I can commit this one now. So we're inside that folder. I can do git add dot git commit -m, and I've what did I say? Something about the lines of added ARM extension control or something like that. And git push. And hopefully this time it won't completely kill my entire computer. That'd be good. We're having a whale of a time today. It's going really well. Never mind. This is the story of my life. Riding from one lot of chaos to the next. So we can get rid of that. That's a load of rubbish. Thank you. Right. Okay. We're back on. Oh dear. Right. So we've got the ARM extension control working. We've got the arm moving up and down. We can move the dome round left and right. We can move the eye stalk up and down. We can flash the dome lights. So the last thing we need to do is we need to give it the ability to fire its gun, which is going to be a little bit of a pain, but compared to everything else we had, it probably seemed quite normal actually. So there we go. So just to clarify, we've got in the gun object, we go under the shoulder shell, under the arm. We can get rid of the arm actually, hide that. Under the gun ball, we've got this firing mechanism object here. So you can drag that out, and I've made these like little curved leaf objects. So what we want them to do is we want them to splay out as it moves. There's a couple of ways of doing it. I've done it twice. I've done this a couple of different ways. Before I've done it so that you, if we looked at one of these leaf objects, I've made it so that you effectively can rotate this leaf as it. Oops, that's the wrong one. Let's try that one. So I've made it so that you can make the leaf rotate out as it comes out of the gun. Actually, that's not too bad. That's pretty good, isn't it? Because if imagine we had, let's see what we got, rotation at 20 degrees. So if I rotated all of those through 20 degrees, we could see how that looks. Let's see, what's that firing mechanism position? It's 310. Actually, what I should do, if we undo this, go back where it was, move the firing mechanism back in. If I zero it on zero its position under the gun ball itself, then we can extend its position relative to that. So we're going to set its position to 0, and then what we want to do is we want to extend the firing mechanism up to a maximum of excuse me, sorry. Actually, what we'll also do is we'll change its rotation to match the gun ball. So then we want to drag it out so its position comes up to about there. So what's that, about 60? 60 sounds about right. Maybe even a bit more than that actually. Maybe 65. What I've seen is people tend to make this firing mechanism stick out only a tiny little bit. Like I think on the Power of the Daleks animation, it came out to like there or something. So, but in real life, they stick out quite a way, like 3 inches or something. So we could even go as far as saying, maybe we'll actually say 3 inches. That's probably about right. So we say 75. Okay, so what I'm going to do then is I'm going to add a new control for similar to the arm extension. for the firing mechanism, and we'll give it a percentage of 0 to 100%, and we'll make it effectively make the mechanism stick out, and then we'll also rotate these things out so they splay out a little bit more. We'll see how that goes. I'm sure maybe even 3 inches isn't enough. I'm sure it does stick out a long way. Maybe let's try. Well, actually, we've only got it going up 3 inches, so it's going to have to be 75. I think we'll go with that. Okay. So yeah, let's go gold Dalek. We're going to add some user data. And we're going to make this one firing mechanism. And we want this to go from 0 to 100%, and we want it to be a float slider. So we can drag it up to 100%, and that's effectively firing the gun in and out. Could change the step percentage to being lower than 100%, but to 1%, but I might actually leave it at that, because it means you can pose it. Sometimes you see photos of Daleks and they've got the mechanism sticking out a little bit, so it means you can pose the model with it at any position, so we'll go with that. Whereas the lights are never going to be, aside from when it's turning on, there's only ever going to be a position when it's turning on where it's not at 100% light intensity, whereas this could be anywhere, so we'll stick with that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the espresso window. Am I? Hopefully. There we go. So we've got our gold Dalek object again. I've got 2 of them actually, so we can do user data. Oh, it's not added in. Oh, have I not? Oh, come on. I've only closed it again. No, yeah, I've done it again. I've got a habit of closing this window without hitting the OK button, which is really annoying. Firing mechanism. We want float slider, 0 to 100%. OK, don't just close it. There we go, firing mechanisms. Let's make that a bit wider. Okay, so there's a couple of things we want to do. First thing we want to do is we want to extend the tube or the firing mechanism object out by 75 at 100%. So we want to move it in its effectively in its x-axis position. So we need to find that firing mechanism top level object, which is that. Drag that on there, and like we did with the arm, we're going to change its position x to be mapped from 100% to be in some sort of range on the range mapper. So we've got an input of 0 to 100%. This time we're going to move it from 0 to 75. Okay, minimize that. Go back to the gold Dalek, go to the slider for the gun, and it should stick out. So kind of works a bit. And the last thing we need to do is we need to take the so once we've got it extending, we want to effectively rotate these leaves so they splay outwards a little bit, because effectively they're like springy bits of metal, and as soon as they come out of the hole for the gun, they're going to spring open. So we could do that. We might be able to get away with doing like a linear relationship, but sometimes you have to do like a curve of rotation depending on the distance. So we'll see how it goes. What I'm going to do is actually all these objects, I'm going to group them under themselves. So I'm going to do Alt G for that, Alt G, Alt G, Alt G, and then I'm only going, and then effectively I can rotate them all in the same axis, because it's relative to their own sort of top level object. So we're going to call it leaf 1, something like that. Leaf 2, leaf 3, leaf 4. And what I might do eventually is I might not make these perfectly orthogonal to each other, so I might not make them perfectly 90 degrees. Quite often they're not quite at 90 degrees to each other. There'll be like 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom, and a gap around the sides or something like that. Okay, let's try that then. So under that leaf object, don't really know why the rotation B position is 360. Zero that out. 0. That one needs zeroing out for some reason. That one needs zeroing out for some reason. And they're all. How can that all be 180? It's 0, all of those. Okay, bloody weird. Don't really know what happened there. Okay, so let's go for that leaf object. So we're going to go in object mode, and we want to. It's fully extended position. So rotation is 0 to start with. So at its fully extended position, we want to increase its rotation. Which one is this? That's this one here, actually. So let's start with the one that's the top one. Maybe that's the easiest one to start with. So that one there. Right. So at its fully extended position, we want to increase that rotation up to something like maybe 15 degrees. See how that looks. Maybe that's too big. So let's say 15. How does that look? That looks about right. Okay, so so that was rotation B. Hopefully we can just make rotation B the same for all of these. And they'll all splay out the same amount. 15. 15. There we go. Okay, so that's what we want at our fully extended position. There we got our gun mechanism sticking out, and we effectively want to map the range of 0 to 100% extension on that control to rotate in those objects in their B rotation to 15 degrees. Now that might not fully work as a linear relationship because effectively it's got to try and slide underneath this tube, but we might be alright, so we'll see if we can get away with that. Okay, so we're going to go back to our espresso control there, and then we're going to make a new range mapper, drag that out. So it's going to tie to the same input reference, which is our firing mechanism, but we want to change its output to be, instead of 0 to 75, we want its output to be in degrees, and we want it to go, its output to be ranged from 0 to 15. Okay, and then what we want to do is we want to apply that rotation to all 4 of these leaf objects. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, drag those there. That's not what we want. Oh, what's it undone? Let's redo whatever I've done. There we go. So we don't want leaf. Don't want. Actually, we do. Sorry, don't want that. Oh, that one. Oh, come on. That one. That one. That one. That one. Drag them all around here somewhere. Select all of those and see if we can make them wider. No, that doesn't work, never mind. And for all of those, we want to enable the rotation B attribute. Rotation B, rotation B, rotation B, and then just wire them all to that output, and let's see how that works. Okay, so does this work? Let's go in. Yeah, there we go. So this is where we need to make a slight adjustment. So it looks like when it's fully retracted, it's inside the tube, but as we get slightly further out, we're actually intersecting with the tube. So we need to change the linearity of the range mapper so that it only effectively increases, so it effectively has like a curve for the relationship between rotation and extension, or effectively input range, so that it only, basically what we're trying to do is make sure it doesn't expand these leaves until they've come outside of the tube. So we can go to the range mapper object here, and what we actually want to do is we want to use a spline. Let's try and remember how to do this now. So I want clamp lower, clamp upper, use spline. Have we actually got a spline here? Oh, I'll try and remember how to use a spline now. How do I do that? Input range, percent, data type real. How do I use a spline? Let's do frame all. Do you know what? I've completely forgotten how to do this now. I'm going to have to Google it. Right, let's go back to the help, I think. Online help. Let's say we want range mapper spline. That's not what I want, of course. Let's try range mapper. To the range mapper operator. Not sure if I want it to be an operator. Oh, there we go. Right. So 4 inputs. So parameters. Input. Right. Purpose of the spline graph is to allow non-linear mapping. To create a point, click on the graph. To move an existing point, drag the point. To delete a point, drag the point out of the graph. Okay, so why is that not letting us create a new point then? Let's minimise that. Why is this not letting me add a point? Let's turn that off. Turn it back on. I want to add a point. Why are you not letting me do that? Oh, come on. Move curves, rolling curves, frame all, enable snap. Spline presets, let's see if we can put one on there. Let's do, don't want linear. Inverse. Oh, there we go. So we've got some points that we can adjust now. Let's see if we can shove that one down there. So we want 0 to 15, don't we? So maybe we can play around with these a bit. So imagine that was supposed to be effectively the initial let's do frame all. Initial relationship between there and there is linear. We want to change that from being linear to being some sort of, actually maybe we can delete that point. We only really want one point, don't we? We want it to be, instead of being a linear relationship, we want it to be a curve, kind of like that. So let's see if that works. That's what we want. Let's see how whether this works now. So we want that to stay in and then expand once it comes out, which it does. There we go. So I want it to slide just inside the tube and then expand faster. There we go. I think that's about right. Something like that. Okay. Yeah, I want that to be able to slide back in. Just think that might just be intersecting a little bit there. Let's have a look. Actually, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So maybe we're okay. Alright, in that case, I think that will do on that front. So yeah, so now we seem to have, right, let's save that. Let's commit that. So git status should have one file changed. Git add dot, add all the items to the local staging area. Git commit -m added control for firing mechanism, for gun firing mechanism. And I'm going to get pushed to the remote server in case my computer crashes again. Okay, I think we're pretty much there actually. I think we've got a finished model. We can use it, we can animate it to do everything we want. Oh, including go upside down. So, oh, what the hell's going on with this computer? Honestly, no idea. I don't know. So maybe what I'll do is, as this stream's kind of gone a bit tits up, I might just render this out and save that and knock it on the head for today. I was going to try and have a go at using I was going to try and remodel the skirt and use the cloner tool, but I think I won't bother because, let's face it, it's going to go tits up and it's just like everything else. See what's that about? It's completely going wrong. There's something funny about this version. I'm sure this is very buggy. I don't often get like the brand new version as soon as it comes out. So what we got? We got a firing mechanism done. So I can fire like that. We can move our gun up and down so we can find some soldiers that are walking around, and then zoom in on that. We can effectively get our close up of the gun, give it a dramatic angle or something like that. We can line it up and then fire at somebody like that. So we just animate the movement of the firing mechanism. We can wiggle the arm up and down, left and right. We can extend it, put it in, whatever. We can rotate the dome. Oh, sorry, that's not the dome. We can rotate the dome. We can rotate the dome quite a long way around. We can get him to wobble as he's walking around, as he's driving along. Sorry. We can move his eye stalk up and down. Oh, one thing I did want to do is, I'm sure that I just want to make a minor adjustment to this eye stalk because I'm not happy with the way this iris looks. I was just trying to look at some pictures. So if I go back to my reference pictures. Oh, that's not right. Not live modelling. So if we look at the reference pictures. Actually, let's go for not that one. Let's try this one. I've got some pictures. This is supposedly a real Dalek eye stalk, and it just looks like that bit is bigger with respect to this outer section than I've got. I feel like my one, this is a bit too small, so I might just try increasing the diameter of that inner pupil. So let's have a go at that. Let's go polygon mode. In fact, I've actually got that selected, which is good. And let's just, what have we got, 17? I'm going to try 20. See how that looks. That's object mode. Oh, that looks a bit better. That actually looks a bit more like I'm expecting. So let's just try posing that a little bit. Let's just go use a data. So if we pose that. Let's give that a render and see how that looks. Let's save that. What we might actually do is do a render as in, no, I'll just render it in a picture view or something. No, we'll render it in the current view. It's probably the easiest thing. I just want to see how this looks. That eye stalk looks a bit better to me now. I think that inner pupil was too small. I'm not seeing anyone's comments. I don't know if anyone's actually can even see this since I've gone back on being live. If you can actually see the stream, could you just give us like an F or something just to say that it's working? Because I don't really know. So that kind of looks alright. I think that's better. Yeah, I don't know if that's working or not. Not seeing anyone's comments if anyone's made any, so I apologise if that's the case. Okay, I think I'm going to actually save that. I'm going to generate some exportable versions for anyone who wants to use a different program, like, so you should be able to import it. I think this exports into Collada, and I could export as an OBJ file maybe. They even got that on there anymore? Yeah, there we are. So I think I'm going to export that as a Collada and as an object file, and then people can play around with that if they want to use it, but I'm going to call it a day on that, because if I try anything else I'm going to ruin it. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed at least some of the stream. Get to enjoy some of the challenges that come about when you try and use a 3D program and you can't remember how to do it, and especially when they change the version and move where things are around, and also when you've got a dodgy PC that likes crashing all over the place. So this is the reality that I work in. But yeah, thanks very much for watching. I'm going to call it a day now, so cheers for watching. See you later.